What's up everyone? So a few days ago we recreated the original Donkey Kong arcade game in Super Mario Maker, and you can go play that for yourself using the code in the video we made about it. But for my next project I decided to go a little bit more ambitious, and now I've tried to recreate the original Frogger in Super Mario Maker. And I spent days on this. Now in this case we're calling it Star Frogger, and you'll see why in a few moments here. Now before I get to it, you may want to go check out the game or the level for yourself right now before I actually play through it, and you can do that using the code on the screen. It might be a little bit more fun that way. But even if not, even if you play it afterward, I still think it's a lot of fun. I've played through the stage multiple times, or probably hundreds of times now, and I still have fun playing through it. So hopefully you all enjoy it as much as I have, and yeah, let's go and launch into it, and I'll let the stage speak for itself until the end.
Good luck. Good luck.
And there you have it, that is Star Frogger, so the name probably makes some sense now. So yeah, that is actually a really hard stage. I had to record that a bunch of times actually in order to get a flawless run. So you can go try and see if you can do the same thing, see if you can get a flawless run too, using the code on the screen right now. Now let's go ahead and hop into the editor real quick and I'll show you some of the things I did for this course. So of course we're opening with the typical arcade that I had from the 25-meter stage, or the Donkey Kong stage, including the 2 coins you need to play Frogger, because of course you need coins if you want to play a classic arcade game. Alright, let's go ahead and drop on down here. Alright, that takes us to level 1 of Frogger. So of course, obviously I'm using the enemies here as stand-ins for the vehicles, and I'm using tracks as the road. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I'll get more to that, talk more about that in a sec. But the biggest problem with Frogger, the hardest difficulty was trying to replicate the movement of Frogger. Because Frogger has very deliberate movement. He's not the fastest frog in the world. I guess frogs aren't usually that fast, I suppose. But anyways, he takes a little bit of time between each movement, and it makes you think about every move. And trying to replicate that in Super Mario Maker, was not easy. I had so many test versions of this level, trying to figure out the best way to do that. Because originally, like in Frogger, I had to go in from the bottom up. I tried to replicate that as best as I could, but the problem was you can just jump up multiple lanes at a time. It was just super easy. You could just clear a stage in like 3 seconds. It had no challenge at all. Especially with the fact you're wearing a costume that gave you an extra hit. So you could just clear the stage in no time at all, with like no danger. So I wanted to stay true to the spirit of the game. In order to do that, I had to reverse it. So you drop in from the top, and I'm using donut lifts to cause the delay in between moving between lanes. And I thought it worked really well. It makes you think about your movements, adds a delay. I think it came really close to replicating the experience. And of course, you may have also heard the classic Frogger noise that happens every time you move, and I just recorded the Frogger sound effect from a website I found. I just recorded it, put it on every other space, but then added to every space. It just played way too much. It'll cut each sound off. Plus, I was going to run out of sound effects that way too, so put on every other space, and it actually worked out really well. Alright, next up, we have the vehicles themselves. I mentioned I do use different enemies to represent different vehicles, like in the game, you have different enemies or different vehicles in each track. And I'm using the wigglers as like the trucks, or more like buses, I suppose, to replicate that feel. Now you may have noticed I actually had them on different lanes. So I had them alternating, or not quite alternating, but I didn't want it set up. Originally I had it set up so it was like, basically the row with the wigglers you see here, I had every lane set up that way, so it pairs of two. But then I realized that's not how Frogger was. Like, almost every lane had different traffic, and I wanted to do that here as well. So that's why I have the first lane going down to the fourth lane, I have the middle lane, on the middle lanes being the same, looping. Now something else we need to notice is that there are different lengths. So the first lane and fourth lanes are different lengths from the middle two lanes, and I mean, I had to do that, of course, if I wanted to do the different layout. The different layouts like I have. But secondly, I also did that way the tracks weren't synced up. Because if I hadn't made them different lengths, every vehicle would, as they rolled around, like every track would be on the same schedule, and every vehicle would have the same gaps at the same spots every time between lanes. I didn't want to have that. That's not how Frogger worked, and I wanted to make it feel kind of random. So having the different lengths accomplished that. It had the vehicles be on a different schedule, so different gaps showed up between different lanes at different times. And I love that. It really helped capture the feel of the game. Moving down, we have the median here, medium, that separates the lanes, or separates, the road from the water. And I try to replicate that here by putting a space, and I actually added coins here too, just as a nice bonus. It shows it's a safe area. I mean, there weren't coins in the original game, but I just want to show it's a safe area. You're safe for now, but get ready. But that's when you enter the river portion. You can see I actually replicated the river using one of the platforms in the background as a background. So I have two backgrounds actually here. I have the blocks, which replicate the pavement, the road, and I had to have that here in order to cover up the rest of the water, which is down below. So yeah, I realized, I'm like, that looks like water, that's perfect, I'll use it as my water portion. Alright, anyways, next up, there's not too much to talk about here. I got more wigglers, I enhanced the difficulty, added more wigglers, got rid of the normal spinies, and instead I moved on to this other enemy, which I shook to become blue, and that actually makes them faster. So yeah, they're actually faster on the track considerably, so I thought that was pretty fun, made it a little bit more difficult in the second portion, while not being impossible. So a big part of this is I tried to make the first level doable. I tried to make it not impossible. I'll get more to that in just a sec. But yeah, the first level is actually pretty playable. It's more like a training level. Okay, now down here we have, of course, is the warp pipes, or what were holes, or whatever they were, like the spots in the game, in the original game you're trying to get to, you're trying to get your frog to. Now originally I had 5 of them for each of the stages, but then I realized you can only have 10 warp pipes in this stage. And since I'm using one up here, coming from the entrance, another for the start level 2, I had to reduce it to 4. So please forgive me, it's not perfectly accurate. Now, as you may remember, in the original Frogger, enemies will sometimes appear in those spots as well. And I, of course, replicated that here with the piranha plants. It is a little bit more aggressive here, because there are a lot of piranha plants, but it helped add a final level of danger. It made the final row a little bit more difficult to get down, because you actually had to time your movement, and it often forces you to jump back up to the previous row here. And that's something I try to replicate from Frogger as well, the ability to go back, to climb back up, or go back to, where in the road or the river you were. Alright, so, finally I added the spikes here just as a final trap. That way you couldn't just drop down here and just, chill until the piranha plant went away. So try to make it as challenging as possible. Within reason. Alright, so you take the warp pipe. We're going to drop Mario in there. And that takes us to level 2. Which I tried to replicate it. I tried to make it look still like part of the arcade. Now, of course, we're actually back in the overworld. So if we scroll to the left here, we can see my arcade here. If we scroll back to the right, you can see my background. And yeah, so I tried to make it look like a little bit digital. That's why I added the red background. And it says level 2. Added a little chime at the start. Just make it feel like a little bit of a celebration. Alright, so we're going to go down the warp pipe to level 2. And here we go. So here's actually where the idea for level 2 came from. Originally I was going to have it just be one level, like my Donkey Kong level. But then I realized I wanted to be true to Frogger, which is a really tough game, but at the same time I didn't want to be impossible either. Then I had the idea of, why not make it 2 levels? So if we scroll over here, you can see I have my first level over here, and I've got the second level to the right. So that's why I decided to make the first level easier, make it a training area, before we go to the second level where it really ramps up. And in this one, I started off with, you still start off with a normal enemies, just to ease you into it. And also, I like the dynamic of the slower paced vehicles against the faster paced wigglers. So now, as you can see, I have angry wigglers on the track. They move even faster than typical wigglers, and of course they're bigger as well. I mean, they're the same size as a normal wiggler, but they're bigger than the other enemy here, which makes them a much bigger hazard. So yeah, overall it's a lot trickier. Then we get down to the water area, and I added all fast enemies. We have fast wigglers, we got the fast, I forget what they're called, the spiny guys. And yeah, there you go. So that is my Frogger level, and we'll go down to, we'll go to the final warp pipe here. And yeah, it just takes me to the goal, and you can see over here is level 2. So yeah, that is my Frogger level. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Please go play it. It is, I honestly think it's a lot of fun. It actually might be my favorite level I've made so far. I put a lot of time into this. Like, I spent so much time just trying to tweak the timing, like play testing. I did so much play testing on the stage, it's ridiculous. I tried different mechanics. I tried making the water, or the level underwater, to see if that would work instead. It had its own problems. I ended up going with what I did. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So please go check it out. You can use the code on the screen. And let me know what you think. Either on Miiverse or in the comments right now. Alright guys, thanks for watching. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Super Mario Maker, more custom stages from us, and other things gaming as well. Alright, see you guys. Bye. Oh wait, and how could I forget? So, of course... Oh, how could I forget? I mean, this is kind of silly. I don't even need to say this. But obviously, I'm using Slippy. I thought he was an amazing stand-in for the frog from the original game. I love that. So yeah, I mean, you probably inferred that yourself. But I thought it was great, and that's why I call it a Star Frogger. So anyways, now I'm out. See you guys. Bye.